it answered questions that I'd had about what matters most in life. We said like our life flashes before our eyes right before we die. Like that's kind of a common saying. Like, what are those flashes? I want to program my mind that I'm taking snapshots of this moment. When I'm about to die, I want this to be one of those moments that flashes before my eyes so that I remember this because there's so much joy in what I'm experiencing right now.
What I love so much about Chris is the energy you bring every day, dude. Like when we first met in the office at SVR, you just come in and you have this energy, this aura around you, this inner joy that spreads to the world no matter what. It's it's captivating. You're a leader, you're someone that people can get behind, but you're someone that people just want to be around because you bring that inner love, that joy, that emotion to everything, and you're so authentically yourself. And I just appreciate you so much for being you.
Hmm.
So we've spoken a few times, I mean a bunch of times, and I feel like I've gotten to know you. And one thing that you've spoken a lot about on what's influenced you is your relationship with your mom.
Hmm.
So you mentioned me how impactful the final year of her life was on you and being able to spend that time together. What was that time like?
Yeah. So one of the things that it did for me was it answered questions that I'd had about what matters most in life. Here's what I mean by that is in her waking hours and her final hours, what my mom and I spoke about and what we shared, the bond that we shared was related to experiences that we had with one another. I could distinctly remember like a few days before she died, she had like one moment where she was lucid and she was like, "Do you remember when I like held your hand and walked you to the bus your first day of school?" And so like those were the things, those were the snapshots that she had, right? If like we said like our life flashes before our eyes right before we die, like that's kind of a common saying. Like what are those flashes? And I think that they're exactly that. They're experiences that we have that communicate deep emotion with loved ones, right? And so I got away from some of the proverbial like the trappings of materialism because I wanted everything to become more experiential. And so I try to create that now in my relationships. I try to create that with my children because I know that like in my core that that's probably really the only thing that matters.
Mm. So it probably helps you a lot as you're making decisions in life, where to spend your time. If you're feeling stressed, like do you use that as a frame?
For sure. So I put my time into two buckets. Like there's areas where I invest my time and then there's areas where I spend my time, right?
Mm.
And the areas where I invest my time is I think where I'll see like an infinite ROI, right? When I'm with my children, I and my wife, I view that as investing my time. There are other things that I do in my life where I'm like, well, I'm just spending my time. And so yeah, I think I'm pretty intentional about where I invest versus where I spend my time. And I think that I try to recreate the areas that I'm investing my time in my family and my friends and the people that I care about. I try to recreate those moments where I am creating the experiences that become like almost like interwoven in the fabric of like who I am. Because I think that they mold you in like a very unique way. Like like, people will laugh at me sometimes, like, but I do this. Like, if I find like a moment to be really special, I'll like blink my eyes a lot, and people will be like, "Why are you doing that?" And I like jokingly say, like, I want to program my mind and my subconscious mind that I'm taking snapshots of this moment so that when I do die, I think back to this moment. Like when I'm about to die, I want this to be one of those moments that flashes before my eyes so that I remember this because there's so much joy in what I'm experiencing right now.
Yeah, I feel like training our mind to see the beauty is so powerful because I've in the past like had tendencies to look at what's wrong, look at
Mm,
like what's going wrong, and at the end of the day we got one life to live, and if we're going to live in that life in that perpetual state, like let's see let's see the beauty, let's see the joy, let's see the environment that we're sitting in right now. And I love what you said with the blink the eyes and like really capture that. I had another friend that taught me this, which is like grab the moment and like put
Mm,
it
mm,
put it to our heart.
mm. I
And
might steal that.
it's it's such a powerful perspective. I also love how you talk about your intentionality about where you invest time. Um, I see it as a similar way in that sense. I have a group of friends. We have this account buddy group where we meet up once a quarter and we outline all the different aspects of our lives that really matter to us most. And I just find it so important to like really be intentional with what we want, because otherwise our phones, society is going to program us to tell us what we need, to tell us that we need more money, more cars, more clothes, more whatever, whatever they want to do to influence us, right?
Mm,
And I've been able to do some incredible things through that, like by being intentional. I went and climbed the Grand Teton, the
mm,
highest mountain in the
mm.
Tetons. Um, I've done a bunch of things. I'm creating this podcast. I threw a big art gallery event. Like a lot of these intentional things that have brought me so much joy and fulfillment have come from being intentional. Can you expand on like how you're intentional about these things? I know family is a big component, but do you have some sort of system, structure, something around it, or how are you intentional with what you do?
Yeah. I think the greatest thing I try to be intentional about is consistency in my behavior. And what do I mean by that? So I deem success in that way is that I want my children, my wife, my friends, everyone that I have close knit relationships with to view me as the same person regardless of circumstance, right? Like
Mm,
I don't I'm not a thermometer, I'm a thermostat. What do I mean by that? A thermostat sets the temperature. A thermometer responds to the temperature outside, right? It goes up, it goes down, whether the weather's up or down. A thermostat sets the temperature of the room. And so I constantly want to be that thermostat that's setting the temperature of the room. And I want to be consistent. So if I have a great day at work or whatever it is, it shouldn't elevate who I am as a husband and a father just because there were outside circumstances. Like I should try to be consistently the same person, like regardless of with my friends and whomever, regardless of what they're contributing to the relationship. And I think that the intentionality to be consistent all the time has like put me on a trajectory that allows me to be in a position to have success in all areas of my life.
how do you do that? Because I'm sure, like, I find that for myself so tough sometimes. Like, have a good day,
Mm,
stuff's rolling my right direction. Sometimes shit happens, like
mm.
uncertainty comes up. Like, there's deadlines you gotta hit for certain things that are out of your control. How do you stay as that thermostat in those tough times?
Mm. So one of my favorite movies is The Matrix. And there is a scene in The Matrix where Neo is going to see the Oracle, and there's a bunch of children in a waiting room, and there's a little boy, and he's holding a spoon, and he's bending the spoon, right, with his mind. And then Neo holds the spoon, and the boy basically says to him is the spoon is not real, right? And I think that that example somewhat exemplifies how I feel about some of these like quote unquote stressors, right? That we see every single day, right? Like, got to meet this deadline, got to make this payment, got to do this, got to do that, got to call this person, got to text this person. Like, I will be like, the spoon is not real, right? I say that to myself because how many of those those prisons are self-imposed, right? Like, we have these like deadlines, but whose deadline is it? Right. And we have this stress, but whose stress is it? Who's creating this? And if you realize that the spoon is not real, then it's empowering. That's empowering. And I
Mm,
think that when people start to fall off the rails, like emotionally, spiritually, physiologically, it's because they don't feel like they're in control. And we have total and complete control. And that's why I think people need to have a better grasp and understanding of the power that they have within.
Mm, I love that. The spoon is not real.
Mm,
I, I feel like, along with your analogy, maybe the only spoon that actually is real is our inner perception.
that's it.
That's the only real spoon that we have.
Mm.